Alright, we are live. Hello everyone who dropped in. Thank you for watching. How's everyone doing today? You know, I think we need to speed up this camera a little bit. This is not going to do it for me. Hello there, nice man. I have heard rumors. Oh, I loaded a little too far over. That you're nice. It is Thursday. For me, it's Saturday. And I have... Oh, we might be getting some buffering. I apologize. I have some new mangrove trees I made to replace the old ones. And they also look and perform better than before. We're going to replace those real quick before anything else. Let's see, where are they? There we go. Okay, so let me see which ones would be most fitting for this area. How is everyone today? Hopefully relaxing and having a good day so far. Yeah, I spent way too much time making these, but I really wanted crazier roots than before, and also the aerial roots coming down from the branches. Made some little ones too. Let's see. I think C will be a good one to replace this one. C. Maybe B for that one. Need to adjust it a little bit. But this has much more detailed bark and the leaves are a bit nicer. And at the same time, they run a lot better. So that's a plus. Looks like I just need to lean it over a little bit. It's going a little too far into the path right here. Oops. Lean it, move it just a little bit. Kind of like the roots hanging over the edge, but that might be a little bit too far. Okay, that seems pretty reasonable to me. Also, I believe, let me see which one was the largest, I don't remember. I think it's that one. Yes. So we're going to add this one to use here and there. Make sure it stays off of the path. I know, same here. I really want to see some in real life. It'd be awesome. Okay. Making sure I have this all set correctly for these. Might take me a minute to get going. I am very tired today, so I'm still waking up a little bit. It just occurred to me that I'm not actually sure where mangroves normally grow. Just making sure to match up the settings between these. 1 to 3. Actually, I don't think we want it to go that far for that one. It's a pretty huge tree. But yes, today we're going to do a little bit more work on the ravine and possibly move around a little bit too. Okay. That should do it. Ooh, I didn't know there were any in Texas. I might need to find those so I can go scan them. I have an addiction, and I will feed it. Actually, let's go ahead and paint some of those big mangroves. Make sure I don't have the others selected. Excellent. I think mainly what I wanted to do was use the ones with the biggest roots to go down the sides of the ravine to fill in some of these empty spaces. How dense I need to make this. I'm not sure how much Islander has said, so I'm gonna wait until he chimes in before I answer that. But I do want to. Did he... I've been pretty busy with school, so I haven't seen if he's made any announcements. What did he tell everyone? Well, why doesn't this want to paint? Maybe I need to set up an inclusion layer. Let's see. How strange. Aha, okay. I wasn't sure if he'd announced it yet. Yes, I am making a second island. It's still in the concept stage at the moment, but yes. It is coming. How strange. Let me see. I don't know why this isn't painting for me. Need to find out what's going on. Ah, that's what it was. I believe... You know what? Actually, I'm not certain which one is being used for which yet. But... we will find out. I'm guessing this one is going to be for the humans, since we already have some villages here. Need to see why this doesn't want to do my bidding. How strange. How about no code? Ah, that's what it is. Okay. I see now. All is well. Sorry about that. The collisions for these are a little bit odd. So, it was messing with the way I was painting them. I think we're going to make these a little bit bigger because I want this to be more of the hero tree, you could say. Really massive one that's the eye catcher. Oh, whoops. We'll get rid of some of these. Nice subsurface scattering effect. Feeling it. Now we're going to put a few of these around because I want them coming down the side of the mountain or the cliff. We'll definitely have to go back and move some things around just to get rid of any trees that are in the way, but we will take care of that. And this makes me think I need to set the maximum angle that they can align with the landscape. I think it's still a little bit too much. Let's try 15 degrees. Okay, so not quite that intense. There we go. I just didn't want it to be almost sideways. coming down the mountain because that's just weird. Yes, that's correct. And of course there will be other ways there as well, I'm sure, although we haven't discussed all the specifics yet because it was a more recent idea. So we've talked about it, but I've talked with him more about the environment design portion of it, just so we can be on the same page. But yes, I'm very excited to work on the second island as well. Job security. You guys would protect me, right? That is a good question. I'm not sure yet, because I don't have any really detailed plans for it yet. We've discussed more of how different we want it to be in terms of the shape of the landscape, mostly. I think I'm going to remove these right here. And put down a big mangrove, because I can. Am I even saying that right? Is it mangrove or mangrove? I keep meaning to look that up. Yes. DLC Islands. Personally, when I look at games, I'm completely cool with DLC. It's just when it's something that's really essential to the game that it bothers me. And they put it behind a paywall. That is when it becomes not so cool. I actually do plan to add a coniferous forest here. I actually started one not too long ago. It's outside of the redwoods, which I guess technically is a coniferous forest, but in the real redwoods, in real life, there are forests surrounding the redwoods that have things like Douglas fir trees and so on. So I wanted to do some of that. Yeah, I think having optional extra paid content is reasonable. For games, it's just when it's something essential. That's when it's not so great. Right now we're on 5.4.4, which this is on the NVRTX branch of Unreal 5.4. Our builds have not yet been put in the NVRTX branch, but the version you're seeing on the stream is that custom build of Unreal. Which, on the stream it looks no different. There are more features graphically for this, but I'm not actually using them in the stream because I don't want it to look any different than what you'll get. There is lore. I assume Islander's going to release that at some point, but I know he's still in the process of writing all of it. Okay, now we can add more of the smaller ones. But the game does run very well, especially on the NVRTX branch. So I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Obviously I don't want to make these too dense because they're not exactly easy to traverse. I don't think he's given it a name yet, but I do like that idea. Whoops. Didn't need that many. But it's okay. We'll make it work. The great thing about these is I can just have it kind of grow wherever, because mangroves just, for one, that covers up where it's growing exactly. So if it's growing out of a rock, you might not really question it that much. But two, they also just grow in standing water, which is kind of ridiculous. We probably won't go to 5.5. We'll probably wait until 5.6 if I were to take a guess. Because for me, it's not a big deal to update. It rarely breaks anything on the map. But for the programmers, they have their work cut out for them when we update. And 5.5, while it does have some good features, it hasn't been enough to update just yet from 5.4. But I'm also not rushing anyways, because since we plan to have it on the NVRTX branch of Unreal, I also need them to update that. I'll probably go back and make these more dense later on, but I don't want to overdo it just yet. Because in the end, these are a little bit difficult to walk around. I do use 5.5 for my other project, and it's good, but definitely wouldn't be a huge benefit for this game specifically. Because one of the highlights of 5.5 is megalights, which wouldn't be incredibly useful for this game because we don't have a ton of single light sources that would benefit from it. I also still have some work to do on the lighting. It's not quite where I want it yet, but it's getting there. I don't want it to have that generic Unreal Engine game look. That one might be in the way. I agree, that does sound nice. There we go. I wanted to leave enough space to be able to walk between them, things like that, so. Now I think what I want to do, this part does not look how I want it to just yet. So we need to fix this up. That is a good question. I'm really not the one to ask for that specific question, but if there are any map changes that need to be made related to it, I definitely will. Wanted to make sure this path was going to be clear enough for what we need. So let's add a little bit of extra pathway along here. I haven't added more ferns yet, but I actually did make some just a couple days ago. So it won't be long. I don't really like where that ended up. I say that as if I had no control over where it went. It just ended up there. Who knows how it happened? It wasn't me. On the last stream... Oh yeah, I painted more, but they're not necessarily new ones. They're the same ones I'm using in the redwoods, but they fit both areas pretty well. But this is what they look like. So I'm thinking some kind of stone, more natural looking stone stairway kind of thing here. First we're going to smooth it out a little bit in a couple spots because it's not quite where I want it. Right up here, for example, this is a little bit harsh. Oh yes, I work on the map daily. Here and there are days where I don't, but almost every single day. Yeah, the ones I'm making are going to be more widespread in the jungle. So you'll see some new ones very soon that are a little more fitting for a jungle environment. I just like to take my time when I make new plants and things. I think it's very important to how the final scene looks. So I like our plants to look really good. That should do it. Oh yes, I love ferns. Some may call it strange or eccentric, but ferns are wonderful. If I had a bigger backyard, I would probably add ferns for no good reason, just because I like them. But yes, pretty much any time I'm not at work or doing schoolwork, I'm working on the map or making something for the map. Ah, yes, a fern temple. Oh, yes. I mean, ferns are great. We obviously need to discuss them. We probably need a whole fern channel inside of the Discord channel. It seems reasonable to me. I feel like anyone who disagrees is probably untrustworthy. It may sound harsh, but it's true. Now let me see if I have anything that matches what I have in mind here. Horseshoe crabs also are a great topic, just for the record. Okay, let me see if Megascans has anything that matches what I'm looking for. Maybe. You know, somehow I had a feeling this would be the case. So... even if I can just get some individual stone tiles or something, that would work. We might even use these. Maybe. We'll see. Now that I already have, and we could use that. Might use those. Okay. So it looks like we probably already have what we need, and I just scrolled past it. Take a look at them, see how it looks. Kind of hard to say. There's just so much to the map. Like, for example, I've done most of the work related to at least getting the biomes started with their layouts and foliage, things like that, but then I'll have villages to make, which often takes a little longer, even though it's a smaller area. Does this have the same material? Yes. Excellent. Gonna take a look here. Okay, that's what I thought. We can make these a little bit cheaper in terms of shaders. So let's do that. We got one thing. Okay. That is what we'll do. Make sure it actually drops it. Okay, from 494 to 470. That's worth it to me. I'm generally the only one who works on the map, but Islander also helps out with the map here and there. He is going to start working on it more, but I'm making some videos for him so I can teach him a bit more about how I do things so he can keep kind of a consistent method to how the map is made, I guess you could say. Can we use... I don't really think it'll be noticeable on the path. So let's make some steps. Luckily, this isn't the first really large map I've worked on, so it may look like it'll take an extremely long time, but it really won't be nearly as bad as it looks. There's a lot you can do to speed up the whole process without compromising too much on quality, things like that. A lot of the time right now is spent optimizing, so that can be a little time consuming, and eventually I won't need to do as much with that. But even just little things like this, where we reuse the same model, can be quite helpful with optimization. I'm going to kind of offset some of these so they don't look so uniform. So then what we can do is take this and make it into a single actor and reuse it. So this is one of those examples of a really simple thing you can do that when it's added up over and over, it can be very helpful for performance. Oops, there we go. And as always, it disappears. Okay, so now we can reuse this over and over without much performance penalty, which already is a benefit of nanite, so this just helps build on that. We'll just put a few here and there. Of course, one of them just randomly unloaded, as you do. Good, now we can add a few more up here. Ah, I'm glad you think so. That's exactly what I was going for. I wanted it to look old. No. I was hoping one of these would be sticking through the ground, but nope. There's actually another effect I'm going to add for the landscape pretty soon. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. It's going to do things like, with this for example, it could blend these models into the landscape in a way where the landscape actually deforms around the model. So that will look really nice for things like this. Go. Want to make sure they don't stick out too much on the backside. It's a small touch, but I think it makes this area look quite a bit nicer. And just a few more. Just want to add them over here too. I'm glad you agree. I had this idea recently, but I hadn't actually tried it yet, so I figured I would do it today. Need to touch up their positioning a little bit. And since we just reused the same ones over and over, that makes it where they cost very little performance-wise. We use nanite for the game, which uses something called instancing when you have lots of the same models using the same materials. The models themselves actually don't matter for that, but as long as they're using the same material, you'll get the benefit of instancing, which makes it to where basically you can render multiple things at once with only one call to render those things. Or only a couple. It just depends on a few factors. Thank you, appreciate it. That's something that took me a little while to get better at. It's sometimes difficult to reuse the same thing over and over, but it is very important. There we go. So now we have a few sets of those. But I will continue. We were setting up some of these cliffs on the last stream. I think we got most of the way, but I stopped somewhere over here. As far as I know, for right now, that was the idea of the second one. But we still have to work out some of the details for it. So it could end up being a little bit different than what I'm thinking. But that is essentially what I'm thinking it's going to be like. So this little part of landscape is a little weird. I think we're gonna improve it. However, we need that to not happen. Should do. Yeah, I'm hoping to get more plans solidified pretty soon for the second map. I'd like to start thinking about it ahead of time. Mainly the goal this week is I'm going to try and populate the rest of the map, all of the empty space, with at least something to have a representation of what's going to be there. So things can feel a little bit more complete. But that kind of thing would be a little bit boring to watch on the stream, so I normally don't do that on stream. We're going to touch up some of these edges. Probably going to manually place a few things there to cover up some edges. So that's kind of been the plan, to make it very dense on the walls of this ravine. So the landscape itself doesn't have to be perfect in this area, because you're just not going to see it. But we do want kind of a good framework. We'll just check along these sides. See, a place like this, I'm probably going to use erosion. Make it a little bit more interesting. I'm really curious now where I could find mangroves in Texas, because I would absolutely drive there today to go scan them. Just so I could put them in the game. Or update the ones that I just added to have some photo scanned parts of it. The leaves, though, are photo scans. The bark I had to custom make because I couldn't really find anything that fit very well. That tree is going to bother me. We're going to move it. There we go. And we don't have to go too crazy with the erosion right here, because we're going to put some models in these spaces, but it looks like we're nearly done filling the walls. And then we'll make the pathways and things like that nicer. What I really want, though, if I can save up enough money, I really want to visit the redwoods in California, because I've been trying for a while to somehow get some scans of them. But it hasn't been extremely successful, so although I guess my backyard is turning into the redwoods. I'm just locating a second, possibly third, post redwood to put with my current one, so they can grow together and help each other out. I just want to make some of these edges a little bit less harsh. And please feel free, if you have any ideas about what you'd like to see here, absolutely let me know. The game's for all of us. That's the plan. I just can't stop. Yeah, even those 3 Dawn Redwoods I made some cuttings off of them the other day, so there are now 4 more that are starting to grow. Why stop at 3 when you have the material for more? If you ask me, it'd be insane not to. So what are the plans for today, everyone? Sitting around at home, doing errands? Because that's no fun. But sitting around at home is nice. So I'm hoping that at least some of you get to do that today. Now we're going to touch up a little bit more over here, and we can go back to adding things to the ravine. Ah, absolutely. Go ahead and ask any question you'd like. If I can help out, I will. And for the website design, have you done that kind of work before, or is this your first time doing it? If you haven't done it before, I think you'll find that it's generally not too bad. I know it kind of clicks differently for everyone, so there might be something that I think is easy and somebody else might have a harder time with it, and vice versa. But from the little bit of HTML and JavaScript and things like that that I know, it hasn't been too bad. Ooh. Yes, I've seen the videos. I was actually watching them this morning of the storms up your direction. With foliage, I do a mixture of both. There are some people who think that you need to hand place everything or it's just not good. But I don't think that's a good way to look at things, because if you're making a big map, or really any map, it's just often a waste of time to place every tree manually. So I generally use procedural spawners for kind of the initial layout of an area, and then I'll go back behind it and touch it up, add clearings, things like that. And then for more localized areas like the ravine, I'll hand paint a lot of the foliage because I have specific areas I want it. But you can often get a more realistic result if you use a spawner. Whoops, that is not what I meant to do. Ooh. Sounds like you and I have some similar school. I've had to learn a lot of web development for school, and right now I'm doing less of that because I'm near the end of my degree, so I'm doing all the AI stuff now, but there's still a little bit of web development going on. But the AI stuff is actually pretty easy generally because it's in Python, which is pretty easy. I do often use procedural if it's things like a big forest. And generally I tweak the settings for a while to get the oh, whoops, I did it again. To get the result that I want. Because it won't always look the way you want the first time using a procedural spawner, but I think the settings for things like shade growth and so on can make it a lot more realistic than if you hand painted them. I mean, you could get that same result, but it would take a lot longer. I actually only just started React. It doesn't seem bad so far. I'm definitely no professional with coding, but so far I've enjoyed it. I do have a lot of trouble with C++, but luckily that has nothing to do with web development. Yes, exactly. But I just don't understand why some people refuse to use any type of procedural. There are good ways to use procedurals that speed up your workflow and can even give you a better result. And then there are areas where you definitely shouldn't use procedurals. But game development takes a long time, even just the map portion. So speeding up things anywhere you can without sacrificing on quality is a good idea. Right now I've been messing around a lot with the settings for procedurals for the assets that I sell for environment assets. And I'll be adding them as an update pretty soon to my marketplace stuff. Okay, now it's on a pretty good track. So we'll add some more cliffs to fill in some of the empty spots. Most of the empty spots are over here. Sounds like we might get some storms here today. I'm hearing some pretty gusty wind outside. Might use this. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, the streams though do make the process look a little slower than it really is, because I generally do the more detailed work for the streams, because it's a little more interesting to watch something cool being made instead of another forest, that kind of thing. So I don't think this is going to fit how I want it to. I do have a thing for this rock. We're going to use it. Yeah, I was just thinking I'd probably need to bring my trees in after the stream. Well, I'm not going to bring them in necessarily, but get them out of the wind directly. Yeah, I also have a bunch of random ideas that turned into projects and then later were abandoned. So now I try to turn those things into the assets that I sell, so at least I can get a little benefit from my million ideas. I don't sell a whole lot, but enough to make it worth it. We're gonna remove that little random log there. Oh, I agree. It's such an excellent time sink. You can sit there for hours upon hours and just never run out of things to do. I'll remove that little plant later. And yes, I try to do what I can because I'm trying to quit my normal day job so I can just work on Echoes of Extinction all day and generally do game development, asset creation, that kind of thing. So I've been mainly focusing on making full geometry trees and various foliage to sell, since it's something that's really in demand right now and it's something I'm good at. And it's just recently starting to pick up a bit. I did get hired by a larger company for making foliage, so that's been helpful, to say the least. Go. Mainly what I'm trying to do right now is cover up the rough edges of the water simulation. It's never going to be perfect, So I find instead of redoing the water simulation 20 times, we can just cover up the rough spots. Pretty soon, though, I'll start selling maps along with the foliage that I make. So that will be helpful, I think. A little more interesting. There we go. Water simulations are fun. It's been a while since I did one. Might have to do that soon. Let's see. What would be a good fit for this area? Perhaps this. Oh, okay. Hopefully you enjoy exploring it. I'm gonna try to make it as interesting as possible. I'm glad to hear it. It's a lot of fun to work on this game. There's just so much to do, which is something I love. This little cliff might not fit as well as I wanted it to. We'll see. Actually, the mangroves that I added to the map today are some that will be on the marketplace pretty soon. That must be different material than I thought it was. Let's try this out. Just not quite at that scale. And we'll also use more of the rocks to match these, but I like to have some spots where it has a little bit different look. I am. I love doing photo scans. I actually give away 99% of the scans for free on Sketchfab. It at the beginning, when I didn't know as much as I do now, it was a lot harder to work on this kind of thing, but it's really not bad most of the time. Some things can be difficult about working on this map, but overall it's not too bad. Sorry, I keep getting focused on the rocks. The things like RVT for the landscape can be a bit of a pain on a map this large, but there's always a way around it. Yeah, there's still some spots I need to put down a baseline, but for the most part, a lot of it is there. So I can spend more time doing smaller things like this, which is really fun sometimes. It's mainly when there's a feature that can have trouble with the size of the landscape, that's when it becomes a bit painful to deal with, but it's generally not too bad. Just important to make sure to use lots of instancing where we can and reusing materials, that kind of thing. Oh yeah, RVT is definitely necessary for a landscape material this complex. It gave us a big performance boost. But for doing it on a 64 square kilometer map, it's not really reasonable to do the whole thing in one volume. So I have 4 separate instances of the landscape material, and each one is tied to a different RVT volume, so I can separate the map. Well, for the scaling, I usually just drop in one of our character models so I can see how it looks compared to everything around it. So generally I'll make something and sometimes I have to come back and change the scaling a little bit, but all of the models are here in the project, so I can just drop one in when I need to check. It makes it pretty easy. I saw that I missed one of the meshes here. This one. I think this won't let me edit it right now. That's what I thought. I'll come back and edit later. So for this part, let's use this. I think the main issue with making the map, when it comes to characters, is making sure collisions work well with them. It's not quite how I wanted it to look. There we go. I need to make sure I'm using the right. Okay, good. I adjusted the shaders recently for a lot of the mega scans to make them a little bit cheaper. But yeah, usually issues are related to the size of the map, since it's a little bit large. Go. But yes, if you ever need some photo scans for your project, almost all of them on my Sketchfab are free to download, so anyone is welcome to use them. And now I can instance that other one down there that I missed. I actually have a couple scans I need to publish today, now that I think about it. Yeah, I'm glad we have a good variety of dinosaurs in the game because I happen to love dinosaurs, as you might have guessed. I would really like if it would stop doing that. I agree. Sometimes I just follow them around on the map, which is a completely normal thing to do. Don't question it. I'm only mildly a stalker, like a reasonable amount. Excellent. I was hoping it wouldn't slip through the bottom of the bridge here. Actually, I think we'll just reuse the same one because it's not really very visible. Ah, yes, you're right. If we make it into science, it's not creepy. I have three grids right now for the map. As far as I know, there's not a limit on how many you can have, but I use them for different purposes. Like I have one for the landscape, and that one has a further loading distance because I wanted the landscape tiles to load a bit further away instead of constantly loading in tiny little sections because it caused stuttering when it would do that. And it runs a lot better if I have it load in larger portions, since most of it won't be rendered anyways because it's a nanite landscape, so anything covering it that's another nanite mesh is going to cull it. And then I have another one for foliage and another one for just general meshes. And I just have them all at different loading distances, basically. Oh, you're fine. I don't mind answering. I I would talk about the technical stuff more often, but I feel like it'd probably be boring for most people. Um, I have just one called Landscape Grid and another called Foliage Grid right now, and I'll probably add another one for villages at some point. Maybe. We'll see. Because I'm going to have the villages in their own level instances. Yeah, that's also kind of part of the reason that I make forests so dense, because with nanite there's a benefit to doing that, since everything behind a nanite mesh that is another nanite mesh is cold. So making it extremely dense with things like rocks, things like that, it's almost like free performance because you can just coal everything behind the rock. So most of the culling distances that I have set are related to foliage, and most everything else don't really need to do very much. Yeah, let's definitely have to change the material on this. Somehow I feel like the documentary excuse wouldn't work well for me in real life, but you never know. I think we can make this work. Just need to adjust it. But also, since we're using a map with world partition, that's also managing culling distances for regular meshes, so that is quite helpful. Here I actually have collisions. So, I knew it. Probably should check this one too. Yep. For some reason the megascans don't come with simple collisions, so you have to set them up. If I told you where I stalk Dryos in real life, then it wouldn't be my secret anymore. Thank you, I really appreciate it. Definitely love working on it. The redwoods in my yard, those actually attract dryos. You'll see if you ever grow one. One day it'll just show up there. It'll want you to feed it, nurture it, all because of your redwoods. It's good enough for now. You know, the name of that mesh wasn't lying. Gigantic indeed. Oh, it's true. I can sense your skepticism, but it's true. Hey, I admit to nothing. The squirrels are my friends. Who wouldn't want to be friends with a squirrel? I name a lot of materials like that. It's a good way to remember things. Use the big boys material on the big mountains. It just makes sense. I almost wish that people were able to see material names in the game, or packed level actor names. Like in the village, we have this spot for flying dinosaurs for them to land, and I just named it Village Airport. You know why there's a lack of squirrels? Because they're at my house, dressed up as dryos, so I can live my dream. Bet we could reuse one of these. Maybe not that one specifically. Finally, someone appreciates my naming schemes. We also have a log on the map that I named Check the Logs in all caps. Whoops. That's a little too obvious there. I'm redoing the same one. Let's use... Yes. Oh, there will be more logs, so we'll do it. We will. Actually, I will reuse this. I'll just rotate it. That makes it special. The special rotated rock. Right here. Boom. Special. Look at all those instances. Yes, I could put a bigger than average redwood tree somewhere and name it Bigwood. That seems reasonable. Necessary, even. I was hoping I could make this one work here, but I'm not sure about that. Maybe we'll move it a little higher up. And then cover the bottom. Perhaps. Well, you know, we do some revolutionary things in this game. Rotated rocks are best rocks. And I'm gonna do it again. I just don't care. Can't stop. Of course, not all cliffs are going to be this intense, but this one, it feels right. Excellent. I think that's an amazing choice. I hear it's a good gun. And I'm not biased. Look at all those rotated rocks. It's a thing of beauty. Oh yeah, almost forgot to cover up the bottom there. I mean, I don't forget things ever. Beautiful. Now that is what a packed level actor is for. Reused 11 times. pretty sure I have these, and no, I don't have them in impact level actors. That is a shame. I need to fix it. Thank you. I still get so happy at every compliment for the map. I don't think I'll ever get used to it. I know I have one of those really monotone voices, but it does make me really happy. Here we go. I'm telling you, packed level actors were made for people like me. Where you have to use all the rocks, all the time. Now I think the part that'll be a little more challenging is what to put on these cliffside walls. And I'm also thinking I might do a little touching up right here. Let's see. If my initial idea doesn't work, I'll come back for it. See, these meshes can be difficult to use for this reason. Let's try gross masked trees. Let's try some of these. Oops. Some convex roots. Why would you have a roots A and not a roots B? That makes no sense. That almost does the job, but not quite. See if we can make these work. I just really don't like it bare right there. My maps have to be so dense that they're even more dense than me. It's just reasonable. Yeah, I think I'll come back for this. The idea I have just isn't working out well with those, so I might make something specifically for that. So let's go over here and fill in some of these spaces. Try a couple out. Relatively soon we'll call it a day on the stream, but I'm gonna wait a little bit longer. You know, you get in that flow state, you don't really want to stop. That's where I am right now. But I'm also hungry, so it's an internal war. I agree. That's why I love those rocks. I've been trying to, or planning to custom make some myself, too. Because I would really like to have more rocks like this to use around the map that aren't necessarily jungle themed. That rock is not the vibe. I think it would keep it looking really interesting around the map. Now, I need another rock that blends well with this one. Ooh, that's a good idea. I like that. I've had a lot of trouble getting inspiration for the desert, and that helps. All I can think is Jurassic Park every time I hear that phrase. Life finds a way. Let's use this. I think that'll work. And this can also fit in, I think. We'll see, it might contrast the other ones too much. I think that works. Where is that? Looks like I accidentally left a moss mound outside of a level act or two. And now we can drop this around in a few places and fill in some of these gaps. Goodbye, rock. Yeah, that's the exact issue I've been having. It's hard to decide how I want to make that area because, like you said, you have to find a balance between what you're using, or it just ends up being too much. Oh, it unloaded itself. You know, I really wanted to reuse that right there, but I don't think that's going to do it for me. I think it's time to use the big boys material again. I was also leaning towards an oasis. I have a little stream that runs through there, but definitely need a little bit more. Does this have collisions? Nope. Time to give it some. Big boys. I will take submissions for material names in the future. Perfect. That lines up pretty well. think we'll use this. And it has collisions. You know, I wanted to use it, but I'm really not sure that looks good. But in just a moment, we'll call it a day because I am becoming pretty hungry. That's pretty good. Oh yes. You know, I was gonna eat at home, but at the same time, chicken sounds really good. I don't know if I'm strong enough to resist. I usually save the eating out for the, or I try to save the eating out for the days I'm off work. We'll make this into an actor and then we'll stop here. Yeah, I don't know about that much. But you know, maybe I can save some for later. You're right. Chicken is basically dino. Go. Oh, that's so annoying. Excellent. I do need to move that tree though, because it's inside the rock now. Excellent. My best work yet, moving the tree. Well, alright, we'll go ahead and stop it here, and I will be back next week on the same day. Thank you all for dropping in to watch, and I'll see you all again next week.